Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Callers lined up who are going to be joining us. So if you do want to get in soon. Have 5 minutes, have a talk about the season. Hopefully a positive conversation. That's what we'd like. But you know, it's an open forum. People can say what they want. But Trev's got the mute button. Trev, how you doing, Trev?
I'm all right, mate. I'm really good. Evening, Jules. Evening, Mike Feinberg. Everybody, season's over. Fergus and me to start off with, but Fergus has told me to shut up because he wants to talk to you about what happened on Sunday at the Everton game. He wants to review it with you. So I'll pass it over to Fergus now.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Unfortunately, I have very little recollection of it because if anybody has seen me on the Arsenal fan forum, they'll see I was extremely inebriated on the day. So yeah, listen. Let me just, before we go, there are a couple of people lined up. Before we start onto that, I just want to share a screen with you. So if you go to gunsandyellowribbons.com website, click in the top right-hand corner, I got it right this time, and click on join the show. You can join the show. And when you're in there, just click on private chat and we will send you a message to say when you're up next. A couple of people waiting already. So let's stop that. Trev, what a day! 11 o'clock. We met you in King's Cross, and we had a walkabout, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a cracking day, wasn't it, Ferg? You know, for me, it wasn't so much about the football. It would have been lovely if the results had gone our way, but I don't think anybody that knows anything about football expected it to happen. So we were determined to have a good day, and that we had, didn't we, Ferg? We had a wonderful day. We won 5-1 against a very average Everton side. How we lost to them up there, I still cannot figure it out, you know. But we had a good win. We had a good sing-song. We had a good laugh, and we got very drunk, and we all had hangovers yesterday. So all in all, a cracking day, Ferg.
Trev, to be honest, I think I've still got a hangover today. It felt that my feet are still sore. I think it was 13,000 steps. So yeah, it was a bit. Listen, we met some of the guys. We met some of the other podcasting people, including Magic Mike and Russ and lots of people down the Tolly. We had a couple of pints there, and then we moved around the corner to Tommy Flynn's, and a friend of the show, Jar Ryder, was up there, and he dragged you up to sing, didn't he?
No, just slightly, I think. Yeah, I can't remember really. But the riders of the night are worth listening to. All the old boys get in and watch them, and you meet up with some great people, and we had a right good sing-song, didn't we? And the beer was flowing really well. So, yeah, that made that, I think that set it up then for the rest of the day. You know, we just got on it and stayed on it. I know you want me to review the game against Everton, Fergus, so I'll do it very quickly. It don't take long, does it? Everton didn't look that interested. We won 5-1. Their goal was a silly goal we gave away. We got 5th place in the league. We're going to expand on that a bit later when we have our people on talking about it. I know we are. Hopefully we'll have some good discussion. I don't want any arguments, but I know we can have some different views. But that's what we're all about, isn't it? Discussing different views sensibly and putting our point across, Ferg.
Yeah, no, exactly. Look, the Everton game, it was more about the atmosphere in the stadium. The Ashburton Army down the clock end, I'm going to show you a quick video. The Ashburton Army, some people criticise this song because they think it's a Liverpool song, but every team seems to have their version of it. They were in full voice, and fair play to them, credit to these guys for what they've done and how they've worked with the club and the police and the stewards to organise what they're doing down there. Just have a quick look at this. Yeah, it was outstanding what they've done down there, and Mike was down in my son also was down in that area, and it was fantastic. What stands out in that video for me more than anything else is that young boy that's standing there. That's maybe his first or second game that he's been to, and he's seen that atmosphere, and that's what he's going to grow up and live and learn about.
Yeah, it's interesting, Fergie, in that people don't realise them young lads, they've not just jumped in there and done that. They had a real hard time when they were first trying to set up a bit of a singing area down there. They met with a lot of resistance, but they stuck with it and they've got organised and they've talked to the right people and now they're making an impression and, you know, like it or loathe it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm so proud of them young lads. You know, they definitely lifted the atmosphere. And the pointer was, what was really interesting, mate, was, and you wouldn't have known this, Berg, at the end of the game, if the players do a lap of honour, they've always gone clock end first, round the east stand and back round the north bank. Well, they didn't. They went the other way this time. They saved the Ashburton Army in the clock end till last. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Them boys have been amazing all season, and I'm proud of them.
Looking at the Everton game, the thing that stuck out for me was the haze. The atmosphere in the stadium was fantastic. Northland Forever has taken off really, really well and is becoming definitely a club song and an anthem, which is brilliant. But 5 different goal scorers, a penalty for Martinelli. I was going, we hate VAR when I thought it was down the wrong end because that's how drunk I was. But hey, but Eddie got another goal. Suarez got a goal. Gabriel and Odegaard. It was a bit of a walk in the park, as you said. They're not a great Everton side. They were quite lucky, really, to survive the drop. Anything to add on the Everton game, and we'll bring on our first guest if you're ready.
No, I was nothing else to add. Just a great day and a win, and finish 5th, and that's it. You know.
Right, okay, so the first one we've got is Gooner Ross. Now, Ross does like to talk, so I'm almost tempted to set a timer on here for you, Ross. So, yeah, Trev will call the shots when you're going. So, welcome to the show, Ross. How are you doing?
Good evening, gents. Lovely to see you again, sober.
I was sober when we first met on Saturday.
I'm very well. I was a bit similar, really. I was a bit hungover till probably later in the day on Monday. I was feeling not bad headache. I just felt, you know, when you know you've had a nice drink and you've got that sort of bit depressed feel about yourself. But no, I'm all good. I'm looking forward to talking to you chaps. You actually missed Kevin Campbell. He came in the toilet and just after you went. So you weren't there when he was there, were you?
No.
I didn't go after. No,
mate, that man's a legend. He was at selfies. He was talking to all the people. Told a few people off for not saying please, like he always does when they say, "Can I have a selfie?" And he says, "Please, say please," and then I'll oblige. But it was a great finale to the end of the season. A lovely sunny day at the home of football. What you're saying about the Ashburton Army there, I remember when we went to a pre-season friendly at Boreham Wood a few years ago, and there was about 4 lads there with a drum, and that was the start of it. I think that was the very start of it when and they said, they was asking questions really of a few of the older ones about what do you think about drums and things like that, and we said, yeah, go for it, yeah, make some noise. I think that the atmosphere has improved that of all recognition since those lads have done that. I love it. They are a rowdy bunch, aren't they? Very rowdy.
You see, Russ, the thing is, right, with the atmosphere, firstly, mate, I stayed over. I didn't get home till Monday morning, mate. Yeah. I was in a right mess yesterday. As you say, just felt like I weighed about 14 ton, you know, I just couldn't move anything. I was done. But, you know, regardless of what you think of anything else, an improving atmosphere in a football ground can't be bad. It's not bad. Whatever type of play, you know, whatever type of players you got, whatever type of fans you got, whatever, a big, strong atmosphere like we've created this year is never bad. Can't be bad in my view.
And it hasn't because the team's been fantastic. It's just been a coming together of all the fans. with a positive vibe in the stadium. Listen, there's a lot of negativity from yours truly as well, outside the stadium, but inside the stadium, we're all like pushing the team as hard as we can to get the very, very last ounce of energy out of them. And I think I think they love it. I think the players have actually responded to it. I know some of them aren't my favourites and your favourites, like of old, but you know, I think they are trying. I think they're trying hard, and I think they're doing their best, and that's all you can ask them once they put the red and white shirt on.
Yeah,
Ross, if I was to ask you what your favourite game this season was, what would you say your favourite game was?
Oh, Chelsea away, without a shadow of a doubt. Chelsea away was magnificent. That was the banter, the unexpectedness of the result. I mean, when we got the 2-2 there a couple of years ago, when we were down to 10 men and Martinelli run the length of the pitch to score. I mean, the atmosphere that night was fantastic. But this was another level again. I mean, it's just incredible. The togetherness of the fans, the much criticised Super Mick Arteta song. It was wonderful. If you'd have asked me at the start of the season I actually said to someone today, I went through all the fixtures and all the possible permutations of things that could happen beginning of the season with African Cup of Nations, with the COVID, with all the different things going on. And I came up with a points tally, and I estimated we would be maybe around 8th or 7th again with about 57 points. That's what I estimated. So the team, when I look back, has overachieved on what I thought they were going to do. So I'm pleased about that. But what I am miffed about is the lack of investment in January, which just went on and kicked us in the arse, really. And
we probably did pay the price for that, Ross, a little bit, I suppose, because Eddie has stepped up. In fairness, I'm not a fantastic player in my view, but he's wearing a red and white shirt, so he gets my support. He's stepped up and he's got a fair few goals in those latter few games, and I think it was the Chelsea game that you talk about is where he really kicked into gear from there on in.
He actually frightened them, didn't he? With his pace, he actually frightened them. Yeah, he did. Yeah. And I was speaking to a Leeds fan today, and I said that we were very, very disappointed with his lack of game time when he was at Leeds, when he was on loan there. And he said because his term Bam Bang was, he couldn't get in the team the way Bielsa wanted to play because Patrick Bamford actually helps with the build-up play. He helps with the pressing. He helps with all that stuff, which is probably why he gets injured. And he said, and then Eddie Nketiah didn't fit that mould, so that's why he didn't get the game time. He said, but there is a rumour. I don't know if I've heard today we might be re-signing Eddie. I don't know if that's true. But he said that Leeds fancied him. They fancied to take him back on a permanent deal now because he's going to be free. And this Leeds fan said to me that he thought that would be good business because, disappointing for me the way Leeds went about that. Because if they weren't going to use him, he could have gone to Norwich. He could have gone to Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, a good club with good atmosphere and good fans. And we might have seen his development come on a little bit quicker because we've now seen that he can score goals. He might not be the answer for us, but he's had a run in the team now and he has scored a few goals. So, it's a difficult one, ain't it? It's a difficult one.
I suppose the final thought on Eddie, and Trev, you might want to comment on this as well, is if we are signing Eddie back on a contract again, he's a Hale End boy and everything else, as long as the contract is sensible and it's not like, a stupidly huge signing on fee and a stupid wage every week, and that he gets performance related pay, and he gets paid to score goals. Trev, your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm glad Russ stopped talking when he did, because I was trying to write down the points you raised, mate, and I've got to about 20. But Russ, you are exactly right about the having the small squad did cost us eventually, and that was so evident at Newcastle last Monday. You know as well as me that the seats at Newcastle sit very high above the pitch, and you're looking down on the Arsenal team, the young lads, and from the very start, they just didn't have any energy. They just did not want to. Maybe they wanted to. They just didn't have the physicality to match Newcastle up. And in fairness to Eddie, he was one of the brighter lights on Monday at Newcastle. He put himself about. He ran his socks off a bit. But I have got me doubts on if he's good enough. And just before we move on, Fergus, just before we move on, Russ raises a very interesting point about the January transfer window, and we've got Kai coming on soon. So I'm really looking forward to getting Kai's view on this. Right, in the January transfer window, we didn't buy anybody, right? Now, and we went with the small squad, and it backfired. But we were told that the right players weren't available, and that we weren't going to buy players that wouldn't improve us, right? So in January, I've accepted that. Some people don't, some people do. I accepted that, and we've gone through the rest of the season, and having a small squad has bitten us on the backside. Now, this summer, I'm expecting a lot more. I won't take that excuse again this summer.
No.
If we go into next season and they're saying, oh, we've only bought one striker because that was all that was available and we didn't want to buy a second rate, I'm not having that next season. I'm not having it because we've had a long time to focus on people. So this summer is make or break for me. This summer really is make or break for me.
And the other thing is, Trevor, as well, if Champions League was so important for us to get our targets in the summer, then it was very important that we did something, at least one player in the winter transfer window, to ensure we got the Champions League, to make those targets available, because there are certain players who won't come unless you've got Champions League football. So, you know, I think that was a really big missed opportunity, because next year it's going to be really difficult with Newcastle investing, West Ham investing again. Chelsea, I've been told today, have had their deal with Bowley.
It's all been signed off, yeah.
Yeah. So there's going to be another player in the top four race. So yeah, difficult.
Yeah.
But
Russ, we've got them stacking up here. We got Lawrence already. If he doesn't choke, he's going to start talking. Russ, thank you for your support over the year, watching the podcast. Pleasure. It's been great having a beer with you, meeting up with you, mate. Have a great summer. You know where I am. You know we can meet for a beer in the summer. We're not very far away from you, so just give us a shout.
Go get them, Lawrence.
We can hook up.
Take care, Russ. Have a great summer, mate. Have a great summer. Looking forward to next season, son. All the best, mate. Take care, mate. Take care.
Lawrence, welcome to the show, mate. How are you doing?
Now we can't hear us.
You need to put your mic. Oh, hang on. Let's put your microphone on.
Are you doing it,
your microphone? Yeah, do it.
I've done it. Oh no, I can't do it.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Yeah, can hear you now. Come on,
right.
Both barrels then.
Lawrence,
you're on mute.
What's your view of the season then, mate?
Unmute yourself, mate, again. Lawrence, you'll have to unmute yourself first, mate.
Lawrence. Hello. You're muted, mate. We can't hear you.
Can you?
Sorry, mate. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Don't touch. Yes.
Yeah. Don't touch anything, Lawrence. Don't touch anything.
Okay. I'm not touching anything.
All right.
Yeah, poor season. We had the advantage of no European football this season, no Thursday night football, and we still blew it. We gave it to Tottenham on a plate, and I just don't see how we're going to progress under Arteta. You know, he's made some major mistakes.
Lawrence, ask you a question. You mentioned a point there, which I agree with that to a certain degree, in the sense that coming behind Tottenham has made it very, very painful. If that was Chelsea, Man City, another side, would we really have been that bothered and going bananas about stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it would still hurt if it was any other team, but the fact that it's Tottenham, our arch rivals, you know, I just can't get my head around that. You know, I mean, we were 9 points clear of Tottenham at one stage this season, and we had it in our hands, and we blew it. I look at those 3 games against Palace, Brighton, and Southampton that cost us, because had we got points out of those games, we'd have sewn up that 4th spot.
Yeah, to be honest, there are a few games that stand out. The Everton away, the Man United away, and Brighton at home, in particular, the ones that stick out to me. Mikel Arteta signed a contract now for another 2 years. I know it's not something that you particularly want to hear, but we have got this guy. If we look at some of his average points per game, he started off with 1.6 in 2020. 21 season, it was 1.6 and then 1.8. So there is improvement. We need to get to an average of 2 points per game to try and get to the top 4. So do you not see progress at all?
No, I don't, because basically, under the last 2 managers, we finished in 5th spot. Okay. Arteta came in, finished 8th in his first season, finished 8th again the next season, and we finished 5th. So, we're back to when we were with Wenger and Emery. So I don't see any progression.
See, this is why I love this podcast. This is why I like talking to people. This is why we have the atmosphere like we talk down the pub, because we've all got different opinions. And I know my opinion and your opinion don't align. I don't think Trevor is of the same view. Trev, do you see it like Lawrence does? You're on mute now, mate.
I'm here now. I welcome everybody's views, and I've got no problem with Lawrence's view, right? And I'll debate those views. When I'll knock it on the head when people start to get abusive, But Lawrence has got his views, and he's got a point. I don't necessarily agree with all of them. I mean, what baffles me most about the season is that our performances have been either rubbish or superb, and I can't put a reason on it. How do we lose to Southampton and Brighton and Crystal Palace, and then go out 3 games after and beat Chelsea, Man United, and West Ham? I don't get the ups and the downs. You can see progress when we have had very good days, and it worries you what makes them have that massive drop off, like we had against Newcastle and Tottenham. So it's a consistency for me. That's the issue. But the way I look at it, and these boys won't agree, but we're getting everybody's opinions, is that at the start of the season, I hope we get top 6, right? After the first 3 games of the season, I thought, don't let's get relegated. Joke. Right? And then halfway through the season, you're thinking, 4th's in the bag here. We've got 4th in the bag. We're really going all right. And then we have a bad period again, and you can't make out why. And we end up, we don't meet our expectations from the middle of the season, but we do meet our expectations from the start of the season when the season's over. So for me, there's 2 things I look at. I hope that the football club was being honest with us when they said there was no one available in January that would improve us. I hope they're being honest with us. I'm not saying they are. I hope they are. And so this summer it will be massive for me, and my views might well change towards the Arsenal management team if we don't have a good summer and we don't really look like we're going places next season. And I will say that. I'll come out and say it, because we're all here to say what we think. What's on our mind, and nobody could have predicted the drop off in Aubameyang and the drop off of the little bit we got from Lacazette. I mean, we haven't scored enough goals. It's simple as that, right? If you said to me we can buy 2 players this summer,
yeah,
I would buy more. By the way, I would buy more. If you said to me we can buy 2 players this summer, it's 2 strikers all day long. Because Eddie ran his socks off Lawrence on Monday night. I was proud of him, but I don't really know if he's that quite that top level striker we need. So,
Lawrence, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate.
Yeah, we have. Okay.
And we got quite a few people lined
nice
up.
Meeting you.
We're time. You too, guys. You too, mate.
It's my old mate, Guy.
Hi, lads. How you doing?
Don't shout me, Guy. Don't shout me, son. Am
I coming through a bit too loud?
You're on live now. You're nice and loud and clear.
Pleasure to be with you, lovely gentlemen. In a different way, usually we're meeting up at half time outside Block 5, or was it Block 7 the other day?
It's block 7. It's much easier for me this way because I don't have to look up so high because you're so bloody tall. It's unreal.
Stop being silly, Fergus. Stop being silly.
Kai, a question to you. Who do you
on.
see as your most improved player of the season?
I'd have to go with Emma Smith-Rowe, to be honest with you. I mean, look, when he was coming through the ranks, they always said, didn't they? Sorry. They said that he always had that goal in him, that he was quite prolific when he was in the youth leagues. And we just hadn't seen it since he'd burst through to the first team. But it's happening, isn't it? He's got the skill of getting on the end of Arsenal moves. He finds his way to the edge of the box. He's got a good finish on him, and he won some points for us this year. And at the beginning of the season, I never thought that he could do it, and he's done it. So at the end of the day, I think I'd give that accolade to him as the most improved player, to be honest with you.
Ferg, could I come in, mate? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Firstly, I'm gonna Kai, what you said then is so right, mate. Smith-Rowe seems to have this knack of finding a yard in a crowded area, doesn't he? You know,
like Aaron Ramsey did.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, Fergus has asked you a specific question there, mate. And I love your views. I love the way you talk. I love the way you debate things, right? You are my kind of person to talk to because I know I'm going to talk and have some common sense. So, Fergus, it's only fair, right, that we say, come on, Kai, sum the season up, mate. Let's have your view. Go on.
Well, I think after the first 3 games, you know how I felt. You know, I felt that it was really time to move on from the manager for obvious reasons. 3 games, 0 goals, bottom of the league. I think at that point Tottenham were actually top of the league as well. It was looking like an absolute nightmare, wasn't it, after the first 3 games? But credit where it's due, the manager and everyone involved turned it around. I think the first one we got was Norwich, was it? Was it Norwich at home with an Aubameyang winner?
Oh God, I can't remember, Kai, to be honest, mate.
I think so. We've ruined so many brain cells with all the alcohol.
Yeah, and then we went on a little run, didn't we? 3 or 4 games where we got the 3 points, and we looked all right. We looked bright. Saka started scoring goals. Obviously, our attack was mainly playing off Lacazette at that time in order to get the goals from Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka. So they started to turn it around. They started to go up the table. And as the season went on, a gap started to open, didn't it? A gap started to open, and we started to kind of ease our way into that gap. And I started to get more and more hope, to be honest with you, that maybe we could do something that we never believed was possible at the beginning of the season. And it looked very possible. And for our own efforts, and credit to us, for our own efforts, not anybody else's, we gave ourselves the opportunity. Obviously, that's not what happened. What happened was we ended up in a 2-way fight towards the end with Tottenham. They sacked their manager. I remember the day that the rumours about their contacting Conte for the job came up again. And I remember personally, I was very, very worried about that situation. Arsenal fans on various forums told me, don't worry about that. There's nothing that he can do for them. It's Tottenham. I had different suspicions. And I think for very obvious reasons, to be honest with you. If you look at Conte's, if you look at his credentials and his CV, he not in Europe to one side, he hasn't had much success in Europe, but when it comes to league football, Conte's a very successful manager, and I don't even think that the Tottenham badge could ruin that to such a degree that he'd end up looking like a loser. What happened was we had a great opportunity. We had games in hand. Everything was looking bright. And then obviously we had that really bad set of games, as has been mentioned before by our previous guest, Brighton, Southampton and Crystal Palace. Now, the Crystal Palace match, I believe that was one that you could just take. Everybody loses a match. It's happened to every
I think
team
we got schooled. We got schooled in that game.
Yeah, it happened.
I think the Southampton one, I think we were unlucky. The Brighton one was the disappointing one for me, I think, in those 3 games.
Crystal Palace game happens to the best teams in Europe. I've seen it happen to Real Madrid, Barcelona, the best Liverpool teams. It happens. But after that, that's when you really take account of the situation you're in and you say, look, lads, at the end of the day, we lost that match. If we don't win today against Brighton, don't lose the game. If we don't win today against Southampton, we don't lose the game. That's 2 extra points right there.
Yep.
And then we got some unexpected wins. Well, look, listen, I wouldn't call the Man United game an unexpected win. They were absolute trash, weren't they, all season? But that Chelsea match, I don't think anyone was actually expecting that. And look, be honest, lads, we didn't just scrape that game.
Excuse me. I said we'd win. I said we'd win 1-0 because I didn't know where the goals were coming from, but I had a sneaky feeling. First game with a half-empty stadium. There's nobody here. There's nobody here, just like the old days. There's nobody here. I said we'd nick that, and Trev will remember me saying it. And then we go out and smash them 4-2. The result was outstanding, but I did feel we'd done it. Listen, Kai, before we let you go, Harry Symeou posted on Twitter a couple of days ago, just before the game, and it says a win today sees Arsenal finish 8 points more than last season, at least 3 places higher. And he goes on a little bit more. Do you think that overall it has been an improvement this season?
I think the bar's quite low, Fergus, to be honest with you. To use that term improvement, obviously, factually it is, isn't it? I mean, we finished 8th and now we finished 5th. But lads, look, before I go, please don't let me go without having my word on obviously the manager.
Go on.
We have to remember we're Arsenal Football Club, lads. Yeah, and that's not mean to say that we have a divine right to anything. We don't. Yeah, the titles we've won, the success we've had, we've done through hard work and quality by hiring the right people and having the right values. Right, those values, I think we have to defend. We have to maintain those values, and defending those values means that 5th place is never a success for Arsenal Football Club. Nowhere near. And I don't think any club that considers itself a top club amongst Europe, and I challenge any of you guys to name me a football club that is an elite club that would consider 5th place to be any type of success. And that's 5th place without any trophies, mind you.
You sent me that message, and I said there are several clubs in Germany, in France, in Italy who don't get. You asked me Europa League, not 5th place, but who would be targeting Europa League, and I said there's loads of clubs out there. I couldn't name them in particular, but there are other leagues where they only get 1 or 2 European spots.
I think you'd struggle, Fergus. I really do. I think you'd struggle to find elite clubs that would consider that. And just before I go, I just wanted to say, listen, I personally, I don't know the guy. I think he's probably a great guy. I have nothing against Mikel Arteta personally. I just want the best football manager that Arsenal can get, and I don't think he's it. I really think in order to have won the things we've won in our history, especially recently, because obviously I understand Bertie Mee was a kit man and wasn't one of Europe's. He wasn't even a coach before he had the job, right? He wasn't even a manager.
Physio.
He was a physio. He was a physio.
I remember.
I remember. But when Arsene Wenger got his foot in the door at Arsenal, obviously not before, when he got his foot in the door, I think we realised, lads, didn't we, in 97, 98, we've got one of the best managers on the block, haven't we? Yeah. And I think George Graham also proved that as well. We aren't going to spend as much money as Man City. We're not going to have the most riches in the world to spend on football players. But in order to get what we want to get, what we can do is get the best football manager that we could get. And we haven't done that. That's what I'm saying. We need an exceptional football manager.
Kai, wait, Ferg. Kai, don't go, Kai. Don't go, Ferg. Wait. Because Kai's right, Ferg, right? There's evidence to say that Kai's right. Chelsea were playing awful under Frank Lampard. Tuchel come in and added a player maybe, and they were flying, won the Champions League. Tottenham have turned right round under Conte, right? He's bought 1 or 2 players in January and he's turned them right round. So Kai's got a really valid point. I can't argue that. I won't, Kai. I respect that point, right? I can't argue that point. And there's no but. You're not getting a but from me. You're not getting a but from me because there's not a but. You can't argue against that. All I will say is that from my perspective, Arteta's what we've got. And you just said it. We support our football club, right?
All day long.
If we don't bring in who we think we might this summer, then we've got to take a whole new look at it. But I still think this but isn't in response to you, Kai. This but is in response to what I said. I still think that Arteta is still clearing up the mess that we inherited from what went on before. And he's had his time now for me. This summer is key. What happens is what happens. But I can't argue your point, Kai. I respect your point, and you're right. He's right, Fergus. Kai's right.
Before
You know.
Before I go, I just want to say one
That's the third
more
time you've
line.
said that. That's the
One
third
more
time
line,
you've
lads.
said
One more line, lads. Yeah, this is what I wanted to leave you with. Yeah, instead of going out there and getting the best manager that we could get as Arsenal Football Club, I sincerely believe that instead we have tried to manufacture one. That's what I wanted to leave you with.
Right,
Kai, been a pleasure, son.
Been a pleasure,
Bye,
mate.
lads.
Have a great summer,
Bye-bye.
and I'm sure we'll be in chat. See you later.
See you next season. Bye bye.
See you next season, Kai. All the best, mate.
Bye bye. All the best.
Take care, Kai.
Steve, we've got you in the room. Big Steve,
Little
Not Big
Steve.
Little
Still,
Steve.
look, I'm still
Little
over
Steve.
19 stone. I'm still big
Little
Steve.
Steve.
I'll
Little
always be
Steve.
big
Not having
Steve.
it, Little Steve. I'm calling him Little Steve now for the rest of the show. Hello,
Oh,
Little Steve. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, old man Trev. How you doing? It's been a while. It's been a bloody while, hasn't it? It's been a long old season.
So,
what have you made of the season?
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. There has been times where, I think everybody's touched on it. There's been that level of inconsistency. We talk about the 3 games that we got nothing from, but then a point I was going to make or wanted to make on that, the 6 game, the 3 we lost, the 3 we won in one of the groups. I think it was the away days one. We're talking, list of games. How many points do we expect from these? And most people said bare minimum 9. And we all thought, okay, well, we won't pick anything up at Chelsea, Man United, West Ham. They're going to be the tough games. We might get a point here or there, but you've got to win those first 3. And we just did it in reverse. So we came out of that and we were like, right, well, we've won 3 games. We've lost 3 games. Now we've got to put, the North London derby happened and it's hugely disappointing. But the Newcastle game is obviously the crux. But again, it comes down to where were our expectations at the start of the season. And I think most people will agree back into Europe. And we didn't know whether that would be Champions League or Europa. None of us wanted Conference League. And yeah, we got there, and it is bitterly disappointing to have fallen short of what we could have actually got, but it's more than what a lot of us expected at the start. And the atmosphere, the way that the team are with the fans now, there is that connection. Even, I think the North London Forever song absolutely epitomizes the change in communication and relationship between the fans and the club. So off the pitch and on the pitch, I think it's been a bloody good season.
So one question for you, Steve, because we do have quite a few people backing up. Strengthen. Where do we strengthen? Pretty obvious.
Yeah, very obvious up top. As Trev said, if we're going to make 2 signings this summer, has to be 2 strikers. And on the point of strengthening, obviously Jan again was very disappointing. But then you look around and look at none of the other big teams really made any massive signings. Obviously, Vlahovic went to Juventus. I don't think we had a chance there. And there's other options that could have come up. Ozyman, who we're now apparently looking at. We could have gone all in for DCL, but at the time he wasn't performing. He was injured. And my worry at the time was ending up with players like Mustafi, like Kolasinac, like Cedric, who, okay, fair enough, at times this season has stepped up and he's filled the role, filled the hole left by Tomiyasu early on. And I think generally we've seen now that our squad players can hack it more than what we thought before this season. I mean, me and you have always been fans of El Neni, Fergus, and we'll save that for another show. But I think our squad players have stepped up, but we still need, because we're going to be in Europe, we're going to be wanting to go for domestic cups. We need even more depth. I think we need another midfielder or 2. I think we need definitely a couple of strikers, need another fullback, preferably one that can play both sides, or just, a left back. Or we need some other options.
Steve, you could even be talking more than Ross, and that's saying something. Honestly, it has
Trying to fit it all in. Just trying to fit it all in.
It's short but brief. We will have you in over the summer. We're going to be doing lots
Yeah.
of different things over the summer. So we're going to try and get in touch with more of the Arsenal community. We did the history last year. This year, we're working on with some Arsenal creatives to do stuff with the likes of Ruth Beck, North Banksy, and Charlie Shanks. So we're going to do something about all the different arts and some of the stuff that you got in the wall behind you. And that's filling Trev's house left, right, and centre. Steve, thanks very much. Have a great summer.
No worries.
Thanks for joining.
Later.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers, little Steve. See you, little Steve. Here he is. Knock, knock. It's knock, knock.
Ben, you'll have to tap unmute yourself because I muted you just by mistake. So you'll have to unmute yourself first on the screen. Trev, it's gone all right, isn't it?
Is that it now?
That's you. According to Gary Ward, you're the latest addition to the Raiders of the Night. Anybody who was in Tommy Flynn's on Saturday will have seen Ben on stage with his microphone doing his punk rocker impression and getting about 250 people going.
If you say Raiders of the Night once more, I'm coming down there and squaring you up. Right? It's Riders of the Night. Riders of the Night.
Get it right, Fergus.
Listen, if I got it right, you'd think you're watching the wrong podcast.
True.
So, Ben, your experience of this season, you've come back to the bowl, as you called it. There was no atmosphere in the place. It's soulless. It's this, that, and the other. Yet again, you and you're the granddad of the army, the Ashburton Army, have electrified that place. Some of the stuff that's been going on Twitter has with yourself and some of your other friends on Twitter got the anthem going. Talk to us about that.
Right, talk to you about the anthem first, or the Ashburton Army.
Talk about whatever you want.
Both. You go.
Okay, then we'll start with yes. I was 12 years not going to the Emirates in total. 12 years and about 4 months, it turned out. Atmosphere was a part of it. Obviously, the personal stuff as well. I was in Scotland for quite a few years as well. But that wasn't the reason why I didn't go back. The way the club was getting run down with contracts and the personnel in the club, Wenger staying too long, was all key decisions into why I stayed away. And like I say, atmosphere was a big thing as well. And I obviously had connection with people, and they was all telling me exactly the same thing. It was soulless, and it wasn't the place that we want it to be. So I thought in the time I was away, and obviously through lockdown and my distraction from a few problems up north of the border, that behind the scenes I was going to try and do things and work with AA and put ideas across to them, put a few songs on Twitter, and we'll go from there. So that was a kind of a start, really. And like I say, Twitter's obviously helped. I'm on there probably too much, but it's quite a nice distraction. It's nice. I've met so many great people through Twitter, and Twitter can be a vile place, but it's had a lot of benefits too. And the ideas obviously go up on there, or go up on certain Facebook groups or whatever. And but going on to AA, I think they've just grown and grown, and now they're finally getting the respect they deserve. They're obviously quite a young group. There is a few older ones in there. Obviously, I'm the oldest probably, but they are doing a great job, and they're finally getting they're getting connection with the club as well. The communication between them and the likes of Mark Brindle and a couple of others, and they finally got given a block now where they all can actually be together, as long as they order their tickets in by a certain date and get their application in, and they can all get together. I mean, there was times at the start of the season where they was all scattered all over the place, and then there was all jumping in front of people just to all stand together, which I was in there as well, and it was a bit of carnage. But now they've actually been given.
Man City away they weren't great at that.
I mean away games, but they'll probably that still might happen because they get their tickets through different sources here, there, and everywhere. But as for the Emirates now, they've got their own block and they can get their own section, and that's probably why the atmosphere has grown, particularly as the second part of the season. Anyway, it's got bigger and better, and it's brilliant in there. Honestly, I was in there again on Sunday, and
we just showed the video. We just showed the video before you came on.
I'm moving my season ticket to block 26, mate. That's it.
It's 25. They were in 26. They're into 25 now, but it's pretty much between 25 and 26. They kind of work in the two of them. But it's not just those two blocks now, and it's not just AA that's getting involved. It's literally a lot of people. And it's even older people that are going in there with their kids and that, and they're all up on seats, and the kids are getting involved, and it literally Sunday proved it was literally the whole end.
You see,
and it was brilliant.
North London forever for me has topped it off this because it's come right at the end of the season. Sorry, Ferg, it's tops it off for me. North London forever, in that we can all relate to that, we can all get behind that, and we all know the words, and it's not offending anybody. It's just a catchy little thing, and it's lifted the stadium against Everton on Sunday. It was just wonderful to stand there and listen to it and belt it out. And I had a couple of mates that were watching on streams the game, and they said, "Jesus, what was that before the game?" You know, and it is something. I know it says North London forever, but when you listen to the words of the song, right, it's anyone from anywhere can relate to that, because you could put the name of any place in that song. You could say South London, you could say Newcastle, you could say Cardiff, you could say anywhere, and the words he's singing probably relate very much to how their areas have changed as well, you know, and what's happened and how we are as local people. So it's brilliant. I'm over the moon with it, and long may it go on, mate.
I mean, I'll talk about the anthem. Obviously, you know how it come across. A couple of people obviously tried to push me along to get it out there, and it was a case of a lot of the phone going red hot for a few days, and getting a good feedback, but I'll not take full credit. But I did put obviously a big tweet out, and it just developed, and I'm so glad I did in the end. I mean, it's an anthem we have been crying out for years really, and I know it turned out to be only the back end of the season, but the last two home games have just proved that. I mean, particularly Sunday, everybody knows the words now, and keeping the original lyrics was definitely the way to go. Don't change any wording, and like Trev said, the whole song is just brilliant. Not just the song, the whole album's so good as well.
I love it. Yesterday, my wife came along and said, "Oh, what's up with the weather? North London forever." And she doesn't like football at all. And she went, "That bloody song." Because I'm singing it all the time. I'm humming it. I'm doing the LA. Ben, listen, it's been brilliant. We've got a few people who've been waiting quite a while, so I've got to move on. First of all,
yeah,
to Albert.
That's all right.
Have a great season.
Ben,
keep watching.
Watch out for fire escapes, son. Watch out for fire escapes.
I'm near one at my work, and it's just I don't want to go near it. I really don't.
See you later, mate. Thanks again.
See you later,
Cheers for joining.
See you later. No worries.
Take care, Ben.
Bye.
Albert JTV, how are you?
It's been a long time, lads. Good to see you. I missed you both, man, massively.
The youngest looking 40-year-old I'll know, even younger than Ben. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. Fergus and Trev, I'll be honest, man. I said about 4 or 5 weeks ago that whatever happens with Arsenal this season, I personally want the season to be over. I think for most Arsenal fans wouldn't disagree that they just need a bit of a reset. It's been more than topsy-turvy this season. For quite a long time than I can remember, if I'm being honest.
Trev, do you want to do the questions?
Albert, this really should be a generalisation, Ferg. Albert, what was your expectations at the start, and how did you feel at the end? Did we reach it? Although what happened in the middle gives us highs and lows. What's your thoughts, mate?
My sort of start of the season, I didn't think Arsenal would get top four. European football was always a possibility, more so for the fact that we was out of Europe in the first place, so less football to play. My overriding thought of the season is missed opportunity. 4 points ahead, 3 games to go. Even with a defeat at Tottenham, it was still in our hands. But I mean, that performance, particularly against Newcastle in the second half, for me, I think that carried probably through to a lot of Arsenal fans even coming to the game on Sunday. Because we won 5-1, but the grand scheme of things, I think the result against Newcastle just kicked the stuffing out of us as fans, to be honest with you. So for me, Trevs, it was a missed opportunity, to be honest.
Yeah, it certainly looked that way, didn't it, halfway through the season? So, sorry, Ferg, I'll ask one more, then I'll move out of the way, mate. Because I can't work it out, right? The only thing I can think of is they were shattered. What made us put in such a poor performance at Newcastle, Albert? What was it? What do you think drove that?
You know what? It's a great question, and I'm not really sure, Trev, to be honest with you. It's been spoken about with the guests before and probably throughout the season in terms of it's been my issue for a few years of Arsenal in terms of the goals scored. If you look at the Premier League seasons over the last 5 years, we are down on goals scored. Obviously, it's part of this season where we're up a little bit on last season, but not really a lot. But Trev and Fergus, I think the thing that I kind of look at, there's loads of things, and this is no disrespect to the likes of Saka and ESR and Martinelli, obviously, who come from Brazil, and Eddie, but how have Arsenal in a position where you're going into a season trying to get to the higher echelons back in the top 4, and you've got academy players leading your front line? I don't know any other top club that would operate like that.
A top club that's skint, basically, I think. And I think COVID and some poor contract signings like the Ozil and Aubameyang contracts, legacy contracts, and I think that's what we paid the price for this time. Final question for you, Albert, is expectations for next season and beyond. What's your minimum expectation? Wow. I know we haven't seen transfers, we haven't seen who's been bought, but what are you seeing that Mikel Arteta and the Arsenal Football Club should be doing for next season? And then we'll go to our next guest after that.
Yeah. Firstly, Fred, I'm concerned going into next season, to be honest, not just for Arsenal but for Mikel Arteta, just because of the missed opportunity this season. But my expectations, it's tough. If I'm going to talk about it in terms of players coming in, Fergs, I'm just going to give 4 names who I'd like to see come in personally: Jesus, Tammy Abrahams, Tielemans, and go and get me James Justin from Leicester. And then I might break out into a smile.
You're always smiling.
Yeah, I'll try.
So, you see, the thing is, right, I think that Arteta has been given something that Emery didn't have, and maybe, I don't know for sure, we don't know, but maybe even Wenger didn't have at the end of his tenure. In that Arteta, I think, he's being allowed to choose who he wants to bring in. I know that Emery wasn't. That's well known, and I think probably towards the end Wenger wasn't. So Arteta next season stands alone with the players we start the season with. We start the season with his players. He's had over 3 years tenure, and so I'm hoping to see an Arteta side that plays really well and get the expectations for next year have got to be top 4 minimum. After this season.
Or as Gary says, you can go via the Europa League, win the Europa League, and you get in. Sorry, go on, Albert.
Before you kick me off, Fergs or Trev, but I you know what I think it is, and this might sound a bit harsh, but I think for me this season in particular, with not being in Europe and being dumped out of both domestic cup competitions, for me, it's pretty much shown that our best way back into Champions League is not via the league.
Yeah. Which is Gary's point.
I hope you're wrong. Well. I hope you're wrong, my son.
Yeah, so do I.
Wrong. Just, Ferg, we've had some great guests tonight, but Albert, stuck with us. I know you've had some tough times over the last couple of years, Albert, and hopefully we've lifted you, mate, and you certainly lift me when you come on, mate. It's a pleasure to talk to you, mate, and next season we'll see you again and we'll go again, mate.
100%. Much love to you guys, man. Love your podcast. Love the guys you get on, and I'm proud to be part of it. To be honest with you, so thank you.
You're more than welcome, and you can check out Albert J TV. You're on Lead Judges and Same Old Arsenal and a few other different. You're everywhere. Yeah, you turn into a podcast tour, aren't you? Have a lovely summer.
You too. Speak to you soon, guys. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
Right. Take care.
All the way from the metropolis that is Peterborough, Posh Gooner. Dale, how are you? Welcome to the show. Sorry for keeping you there. You've been sitting there for about 45 minutes. Wait, come on.
It's a good job I was on mute. I had the kids and the wife in the background, but they know the score.
That's
how are you, mate?
They were. But,
how are you?
It's good coming on quite late in the show, to be honest, guys, because quite a bit I've had to listen to and digest, really. And I think there's some good points now. I actually found myself agreeing with Kai as well for a change, so that was interesting. But
it's weird when you speak to him. You do agree with a lot of what he says.
But I think just a few key points from me, really. I think Kai, when he said we're actually trying to manufacture a manager, I actually agree with what he's saying. I mean, I think this season coming up it's D-Day as such for Arteta. He's as Trev touched on before, he's had to repair the cracks we've had from previous seasons and some previous poor signings. It's nice to see the outgoings we've seen, and I'm hoping a few more follow in the summer as well. I think this season upcoming is incredibly important, and it will shape not just Arteta but Arsenal Football Club for the foreseeable. If Arteta does the business, if his signings come good, then who knows? Maybe it is the start of something good, and maybe we have manufactured a good manager. But only time will tell. I think, it's a tough one. I mean, again, Steve, I think Steve hit the nail on the head as well. I think personally it's been a good season. Yes, it's been frustrating at times, and it's a tough one. For those that follow me on Twitter, I put a post up a while back. I said, it is frustrating, but if you'd have said at the start of the season with one game to go, we'll be fighting for top four, you'd have took that all day long. You'd have took that all day long. But the problem is expectations did change. Did they change for the good? Yeah, of course they did. But that's down to overachieving. Not overachieving as Arsenal Football Club, but overachieving as this season's expectations. And yes, we should have got there. Yes, it was in our own hands. I mean, to be honest, when you look at the points we dropped this season, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Some of the games, some of the results. And I think the end of the season kind of sums that up really, nicely, really. It's that Newcastle game. I've got absolutely no idea what happened there. I don't think anybody can kind of explain what happened. One thing I did notice, the big thing about the Newcastle game was their atmosphere. That's the best atmosphere I've seen at St James's Park in a long time. And I think you were there, weren't you, Trev? I mean, how was it from an away fan's perspective? You're on mute, mate.
Dale, I was just going to say, were you there, mate? Because you've hit the nail on the head again. The atmosphere, it was their last home game of the season, and they have people in to prepare the ground. They put all these flags on seats and on all this stuff all around the ground, and they boom the music out. And then Geordies, you see, they love their football.
Yeah,
they love their football. They've had nothing to cheer at Newcastle for donkey's years, apart from mediocrity. But by God, do they back them? Do they want them to win? Do they back them? The Arsenal fans were hurt a bit, but we had absolutely no chance, if I'm honest. People might disagree, but we tried, but we had absolutely no chance of making ourselves heard right at the back of that big stand. The Geordies were amazing. The Geordies were definitely worth a goal on Monday night. Definitely.
Yeah. And truth be told,
hang on one, Dan. Just so Daniel knows, Daniel's the blind Gooner. Dan, you're in the studio, you're on the screen. So we'll speak to Dale, and then we'll come to you in a few minutes. All right?
Yeah,
no problem.
I wasn't there, unfortunately, Trev, but you could feel the atmosphere on TV, and the reason I say that is because for the first time in a long time, you couldn't hear the Arsenal away fans, and that has been one of the positives for me this season, both the atmosphere home and away. The fans have been incredible, especially away from home. So for them not to be able to really be heard above the Geordies, it says something about what was pumping out from the Geordie side, really.
Yeah, it was.
What was your favourite game this season, then, Dale?
Tough one to call. I'd possibly say it was quite nice beating Wolves 2 times in 1 week. Just because obviously we celebrated like we won the league, and as we found out this season, only Arsenal fans are not allowed to celebrate. It's when we celebrate, it's a terrible thing, but when everyone else does it, it's acceptable. it's always nice to beat United, especially when they have the chances they had at the Emirates. I thought that was a great day. Yeah, overall, I think it's been a good season. It's hard to pick out a particular game, to be honest, because it has been such an up and down season. I think from the other side of the coin, the biggest disappointment, though, is when you look at the goals scored.
Oh,
what's happened?
There we go. The goals scored. I mean, look at how strikers combined. I think they've got 8 league goals combined. That is absolutely shocking. I think the bottom of the league clubs, their strikers got that on their own. You look at the likes of Timo Pukki and that, they weren't far off. So I'm pretty much agreeing with everybody, really. I'd love to see 2 strikers come in this summer. I think we've got the backbone for a solid squad going forward, and I'm excited for next year. I'm excited.
Ross, sorry, somebody just put something in the chat. Dale, who finally is your most improved player? Then we'll go to Daniel.
Most improved player. I'd probably have to. I don't know. It's a tough one. I wouldn't say most improved because we all knew the quality he had. But for me, someone that's really stood up and been counted this season is improved on the quality we already saw last season was Saka. At such a young age, for him to carry the team, which he has done at times, and really kind of get stuck in and lead from the front at such a young age, I think it's incredible. I think the future's bright for him. My concern is we need to match his ambitions. So Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, I think the 3 of them have been absolutely fantastic. And yeah, again, just looking forward to next season, really.
I'd add somebody to that list, particularly from January onwards. The man who nobody really wants to talk about. I'm not a huge fan. Well, El Neni, yeah, he was in latter age, but Granit Xhaka, I thought Granit Xhaka has had a good game, and Odegaard in the latter half.
Yeah,
of the season.
Can I just add one piece about Xhaka before we hand over? Yeah. I mean, Xhaka, he has his critics and he divides his fan base like no one I can remember for a long time. One thing I will say is the first half of the season, I thought he was at times a liability. I really do. But the second half, I agree. He really has kind of stood up and been counted. I think, though, I didn't agree. I agreed with what he said. I don't agree with him saying it publicly at the end of the game when he called out his teammates saying about balls and things. I get it. And I completely agree with it. However, as one of the senior players, those conversations should be happening behind closed doors. Especially when at times you're at fault like he has been this season.
Yeah, I agree. It does deserve to be said. Mate, have a wonderful summer. Hopefully we meet up for a beer next season.
Yeah. I took a season ticket holiday this year, so I've been getting dribs and drabs as and when, but I'm back in the North back next year. Got my email through, so look forward to meeting you guys again.
That reminds me, I need to renew mine tonight. So yeah, I will see you then. Thank you, Dale. Have a lovely summer. Love to all the family.
Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Cheers, Dale. Fergus, just before we move on to Daniel, we'll be with you in a second, mate. Every guest we've had on has made some wonderful points, and Dale was spot on again there. I think the away performance at Wolves was a defining performance of our season, Fergus. A back to the wall 1-0. Something we've not been able to do for a long, long time. Drop down to 10 men and still hang on to a 1-0 win. That was an amazing point. And while we're on Xhaka, I've just got to say about Xhaka. Xhaka's had a season of 2 halves for me. We had the old Xhaka early in the season, who was a liability, who was probably more risk than reward when we played him. And suddenly, for me, it was like someone flicked a switch with him. Probably after about the Leeds away game, he just seems to have changed into a different Xhaka. Wherever he's got a twin brother and they've brought him in, he's not putting his neck on the line so often. He's not taking so much risk, but we are reaping the reward of that because he's staying on the field and he's playing really, really well. Sorry, Daniel, I'll let you come. Fergus, over to you, mate.
He does this all the time to me, Daniel. He just interrupts and he interferes and he says stuff and everything else. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a few weeks.
It's all good.
And you and your dog haven't seen him because obviously we haven't met in the stadium. But it's good to see you, mate.
Yeah.
What have you made of the season? And pick up on what Trev was saying there on Xhaka. What's your thoughts on that? Seems quite funny that the time he starts to improve is when they talk about a betting scandal. But listen, I wouldn't say anything like that.
Behave yourself. I'd like to say that was Fergus's words, not Trevor's. Right, sorry, Daniel.
I read it on Twitter somewhere.
First and foremost, it's good. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, I wasn't able to get there on Sunday. My dog's had a few health issues, so I had to. I've not been out. Trips to London right now is not good for him, so I had to sit the last game out. On Xhaka, I think. Look, first and foremost, I think he was absolutely well within his rights on Monday to come out and say what he said after the game. You know, quite some time where, you know, for long periods with this Arsenal team, when they put in bad performances, players have just come out and done the whole PR thing of, oh, well, we're gutted, we could have done better. And actually he come out and took responsibility for the first time. And actually, yes, sometimes you got to do it publicly, because I look at it the way that, you know, he was letting the fans know that it wasn't a good performance, and actually that they got to take full responsibility for that. So I actually saw that as a good thing, and actually the young players can learn from that. You know, you can use that as motivation. But if I'm being honest, lads, I can't see this season anything other than a missed opportunity. I've got to be brutally honest here. I can't. Look, at the start of the season, finishing fifth would have been a good. It would have been a good, good achievement. But as the season played out, and as we became into that top four race, we were 4 points clear. You know, we were 4 points clear. We were good enough to finish in the top four. The only reason we didn't finish in the top four is because of ourselves. And many a times this season, I've said that instead of worrying about the other teams, we've got to worry about ourselves, because we still have a mistake in us. We still have a tendency to slip up. I don't necessarily blame the young players for that. I blame the people in charge not foreseeing that. You know, not foreseeing that these young players, yes, they're good, they're up and coming, they're brilliant, they're playing out their skins, but ultimately they're still young players, and you need experience in there to guide you through. However much you want to rely on the young players, however much you want to build a young team, you can't be naive to think that young players are good enough to get you through. You need to have the experience come into your team. So when we got to January and we didn't sign anybody, I saw that as a massive red flag. I was like, hold on a second. We've got one game a week. These young players, we're in a top four race, because back then in January, we were in the top four race. We had it all to play for. Everyone could see that we needed a striker. Now, I didn't have a problem with letting Aubameyang go. I thought it was the right thing. But you can't let a player of his caliber go and not bring somebody in, even if they just loan somebody till the end of the season.
Yeah, a loan would have been a really good shout.
Yeah,
Daniel.
a loan would have been perfect, but they didn't. And we're sort of reaping unfortunately, we're sort of, we paid the price. We paid the absolute price. And I don't actually think celebrating fifth is a good thing. I honestly don't.
You know what, Daniel? I don't think we celebrated fifth. We celebrated, for me personally, and my personal thing, I celebrated having probably the most fantastic season that I've ever attended. I managed to get to about 12 away games. I attended every home game I could, bar a couple where I was ill. And the atmosphere, as we talked about earlier with the Ashburton Army and Ben and everything else, has just built and built and built, and has been immense. Now, you travel all the way up with your dog from Exeter. You travel all the way over all over the country. Before we let you go, I want you to tell me what your favourite game was and why this season.
My favourite game. Do you know what? It's got to be the North London derby at home. You know, it's got to be the way that game. We saw the best of what these young players can produce. When you look at the way Saka and Smith Rowe played and linked up in that game, it was amazing. And we got a glimpse. I think it was probably that game where we got the first glimpse of what Mikel Arteta is trying to do in that game. I think up until that game, it's been pretty horrendous. You know, when we had the 3 defeats to Brentford, Man City, and Chelsea, and we couldn't really see what he was trying to do. And then we had, I think it was the wins to Norwich and Burnley, if I remember rightly. And then we had the Tottenham game, and actually that Tottenham game is where the first time we actually put in a real good performance.
I love a derby game and everything else.
But do you know, I get what you're saying about the atmospheres this season, and I do take that on board. I do, however, the cynic in me, and I'm not. I know this is just because I've got really high standards for this football club, but the cynic in me, part of me is going, yes, it was a great. The atmospheres have been brilliant, but I also take into the consideration as well that we have been locked up for 2 years. And
True.
We weren't able to go to games. So I do think partly that had something to do with it.
I think initially, yes, bang on. You are correct. I think initially it was, but as the season has progressed and gone along, COVID rules have relaxed largely, and we're able to move around and do exactly what we wanted to do. I think that type of disappeared, but it already had built such a momentum within the stadium. And look, your match day experience is going to be different to ours, so the atmosphere is going to stand out more markedly to you. Dan, thank you very much for joining us.
You can't let these guests go without letting me have a word as well.
Go on, go
for it.
Fair, I'm going to spit me dummy out in a minute, Fergus. Daniel, you 2 points I picked up from there, mate, and one's a cracker. One's something that we've not spoken about much, but it's really important in that we can all accept that we couldn't sign permanently on a contract a quality striker in January. Maybe they weren't just available, but I do find it hard to swallow that there wasn't a quality striker that's maybe coming towards the end of his career, or a big lad that's proven himself somewhere that we couldn't have got in on loan for the last half of the season.
I agree.
I'd have loved to have seen that. You're right, exactly right.
Do you know the other thing is? Do you know the other thing is, Trev, right? And I've been thinking about this because last week, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm still disappointed. Like that result at Newcastle hurt an absolute lot. But do you know what I was thinking as you know, when the dust settles and you get to sort of when the emotions of football sort of fade and you can think logically. I was thinking that I'm not surprised that these young players lacked belief when it mattered, because if the people in charge and the people running the club lack belief, which it clearly in January they lacked belief by not bringing in somebody else to replace Aubameyang, how do you expect these young players to learn and progress from that? How do you expect these players to go on? Belief comes from the top, whether it comes from the manager. Let's not forget Arteta's learning on the job as well. These people that are running the club, they should be going, do you know what? We could have got top 4 here. We could, there's a good chance we could get it. Let's bring in, something to help these young players, something to help Mikel Arteta. Instead, they just sat on their proverbials doing nothing. And this is why I don't blame the young players for lacking a bit of belief towards the end, because belief comes from the top and you take guidance from the people above you. And that's the same for these players in Mikel Arteta. They take guidance from him, but it's the same for Mikel Arteta, who's also learning on the job. He takes guidance from Edu, and then Edu subsequently takes guidance from Vinay, and then all the way at the top to Josh Kroenke. I've sat in board meetings this season with Josh Kroenke and Vinay and those guys, and I'm just baffled by the inexperience that is seeping through our football club. There's nobody there to really take the bull by the horns and go, come on, right, we could do this. And it needs somebody like that.
Now, you make some great points, but I think some of the senior players, Aubameyang that you mentioned, they haven't they haven't stepped up to the plate. Hence why they were moved on. Daniel, on the talk of moving on, I'm going to move you on because Johnny's been sitting there for a little while waiting as well. Thank you again for joining the show. Have a wonderful summer and take care of that dog of yours.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Fergus. Anytime. Look forward to seeing you at the Emirates next season.
Look forward
Cheers,
to
Dan.
it.
Take care, mate.
Cheers.
Stay
Cheers.
safe. Take care, mate.
So we save the best
Johnny!
for last. The two
John-
shouldn't it be? Hang on, let's move this. Shouldn't it be something like that? You're side by side normally, aren't you, at football? So it should be something like that.
Usually something like that.
Which way? Which way is it? Yeah, I'm normally to your left, aren't I? Yeah.
You are. You're normally on my left.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Right. There we go.
Johnny's back. Not just back on the podcast, he's back in the Emirates because he's had some time off this year, but he's been back the last couple of games. It's been lovely to have him next to me, and I'm excited to talk to you, Johnny boy. I'm excited to talk to you. John, I want to throw something in here, right? Because we've spoken a lot about that mob up the road, right, tonight. And we've spoken a lot about our young players, and our older players, the older players we should have relied on, didn't come to the ball game, did they? So, but next season, their top strikers, I think, are going to be 29 and 30 respectively, right, up the road, age 29 and age 30, I think. And our young lads are still going to be developing. I think they've hit their peak this season. I think they've hit their peak. Conte or no Conte, they'll be looking to see what they can do because them players are going to be on their way down very shortly, and we're on the way up. So don't worry about it, Johnny boy. Come on, tell me about this season, mate. Disappointed, happy, mediocre?
Well, I thought when we had the 3 defeats against Brighton, Southampton, and Crystal Palace, that was the most disappointing part of the season for me. But I really thought that we could get top 4. I was convinced before those 3 defeats we'd get top 3. I was being very, very positive. You know, I was listening to all the even Sky Sports was saying how good the crowd was at the Emirates, and I was missing it so much. And I missed all you guys, and I missed being part of the crowd and singing and going home with no voice and being part of something. And I felt like I missed out on all of that because it seems like this season, the crowd and match-going fan base, or as the Americans like to call us, legacy fans, have become closer to the club and closer to. We feel part of the club again, and like so many people have shouted for, we've got our club. We want our club back. I feel like we're part of it now. We're how we should be.
Johnny,
being
asking you a
listened to
question.
and valued.
Asking you a question. So the season ticket renewals come out the day after the final day of the season. We've got a few weeks to respond to them. And there's a new rule brought in that if you fail to attend or fail to have your seat occupied for 10 or more games, so that's just over 50% of the match games, you will not be offered the opportunity to renew. You are given the choice to stick it on ticket transfer, donate to charity, I think is an option that's coming up, or sell it to friends or family. Do you think that's a good idea, and do you support it from the club?
Oh yeah, it just means those people that aren't bothered won't have a ticket anymore. I mean, if you're really bothered, you'll go onto the admin page and you'll post it on Ticket Exchange. It takes 5 minutes, and it gets a fan who actually wants to be there. And it fills those seats. I mean, my seat, most of the season I've not been able to go, and I've made sure that we had a proper Arsenal fan in those seats. Just to make sure that we had the support there in the ground, not just it ended up in a tout's hands or anything like that. So good. It's a good move.
And what's your expectations for next season then, Johnny?
Progress, always forward. Always forward. I see a lot
He's
of
a company man, isn't he?
Well, it's the thing. All you can do is put one foot in front of the other, whether it's in your own personal struggles
or whether it's as a big conglomerate across the world. All you can do is make one foot in front of the other and try to make progress. And I think anybody who cannot see that this club, not just the team on the pitch, but the club itself, are actually trying to move forward and be more positive, really needs to give their head a wobble, because we've got rid of the bad elements, the rotten apples, as people call it, the dead wood or whatever, and now we've got a refreshed squad. I mean, you look at the record set for the youngest team. We've set, I think it's 8 out of the top 10 records in Premier League history just this season. That is an amazing idea that we got fifth. We could have got Champions League, and we've got the youngest squad in the league with the most inexperienced manager. And I think all another year's going to have done is give us more experience and allowed us to develop more and grow even tighter as a team. And now we've got the chance to add to it, bring the right players in. Like January was a gamble, but they didn't want to bring just any old bod in. They could have just brought anybody in that were, a mercenary, and it could have
like we've done in the past.
Exactly, your King Kalstrans and the Suarezes and all them. And what did they bring to the table? Did they make the culture more positive? Did they add to the cohesion of a young squad? No. So what we wanted was to bring in the right players at the right time, and those were the summer signings, like Vahalovic, like Steve was saying earlier. He didn't want to come. He was our summer target. We wanted to bring it forward because we needed to. But at the end of the day, it's better to bring in the right person who's going to fit in with the team and fit the play way we want to play, not just bring on anybody.
And finally, because we've really overrun our normal hour sort of mark, but there were so many people that did want to join in. You watched from afar for most of the season. What's the game you enjoyed the most, and why?
It's between Brighton away, which was the last game I went to before my hiatus. It was one of the worst weather and worst games I've ever been to, but it was away, and I was listening. Me and Trev were there, and I was with all the usual faces, and everybody was singing. It was a lovely atmosphere in that concourse, and we got some decent beer, unlike the Camden Hell nonsense that we get at the concourse. And even though I was soaked all the way through to my bones, I enjoyed being there. And but the next one was the Leeds game, because it was my first game back after that. And being back and getting a man hag off of Trev, and having a beer with the boys, and coming down on the train, and I had a bit of a teary moment on the underground, and I was listening to North London Forever, and I was like, I'm going back to the Arsenal. I'm going back to where my heart is, and I can now be part of something more positive, and it's got better, even though I haven't been there.
Yeah. He's all he's all crying. Trev, have you got anything that you'd like to ask of Johnny before you chuck your toys out of your pram about not being allowed to ask a question you've already asked to?
Johnny's just summed it up nicely there. It has been overall. If you look at it all, there's been lots of disappointments, but I think the good moments outweigh the bad, And when we clapped, when I know I speak for almost everybody in that stadium on Sunday, when we clapped for the lap of honour and when we cheered the fans off the pitch, cheered the players off the pitch, and we waited to see them again. We weren't celebrating mediocrity. We weren't celebrating getting fifth place in the league. We weren't clapping failures. We weren't clapping superstars. All we were doing was supporting the Arsenal Football Club. That's all we were doing. That's what we do. That's what we go for. We go to support the Arsenal. We moan and we groan and we cheer. But at the end of the day, we go to the ground and we support the Arsenal Football Club, Fergus. And while Johnny's here, the Twitter today has been particularly vile at times. With these keyboard warriors. There's never a photograph of them on their Twitter page. And they've never got many followers. But some of the things they've called me personally today, because I actually put on Twitter that I supported the Arsenal and I clapped the players off the field, and I can't wait for next season. And I'm over the moon with supporting my football club. I've had a block fest, and those people, thankfully, Twitter's a great place most of the time, but thankfully, those people that go in that stadium, every week to follow, every other week to follow our great club, they'll never let us down now. They'll never let us down. After this season, I think it has been the fan base has changed this season at Arsenal forever. The Emirates has discovered itself. Fergus.
It has indeed. It has indeed.
Johnny's left us.
Johnny's internet has just dropped. Johnny, if you can hear us, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great season, our summer. Enjoy it, and we will see you next season. Trev, I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, mate, that's been one of the best ever. And we've had so many different views, different points, people anti-Arteta, people loving Arteta, people anti the players, people loving the players. But what we've had is a proper discussion. Nobody's fell out. We're all mates at the end of the day. Nobody's been called embarrassing. Nobody's been called a loser. And we've had a great laugh. And I'm going to cut Fergus off for one more second, because we've had some wonderful feedback about our podcast this year, right? We don't go seeking fame and fortune. We don't do anything to get false people looking at us. We don't want to be heroes. We just come on here to talk about the Arsenal, and I love doing it because it's my passion. But I wouldn't do it without Ferg, and this is the point I'm making, right? And he don't know I'm going to say this. Fergus absolutely runs this podcast. All I do is come on here every week and talk a load of rubbish, right? Fergus controls it. He sets it up. He looks after me. And one of the most important things about the Emirates is that you've got great friends at the Emirates, and every season you make more friends. And every season, the friends you've already got, those friendships are cemented and they grow. And this season, my friendship with Fergus has grown and it's cemented. And on this podcast, I just love him to bits. And this is not me. This podcast isn't me. I just chat like this, talk a lot of rubbish. Fergus does all this. And Fergus, I, for one, am grateful, mate. Thank you very much, my friend. Don't cry.
To you, no, I said to you, and I said to your wife and my wife that not only gone to all the away games and everything else, the friendship that we've grown, which mostly built up in lockdown and just prior to COVID this year, has been absolutely fantastic. Some people have said that they're looking forward to seeing us next season. We will be back next season, but throughout the summer, we do intend on doing some other types of podcasts. We did it last year with the Arsenal History podcast. It's in on our YouTube channel. Check it out. There's some really good and interesting stuff on there. We will be doing something with Ruth Beck next Tuesday at 7:30. She's sent me a huge email with loads of different pictures and articles and stuff that she wants to talk about. So we're going to talk about how she came from Highbury, the Highbury quadrant, and how she's become like this sweetheart of Arsenal on doing her wonderful art, and how Trevor pays her mortgage by spending so much money every month, and his wife's getting jealous. But we will talk about that. Look, before we go, Trevor, thanks very much. I will speak to you, you know that. But have a great summer, and I'm just going to play this before we go. does, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. You talk, because I can't. You talk, because I can't. Oh.
Trev, my voice is gone. It's Scrooge since Sunday. Up the arse.
Up the arse. Love you all. Come on, you Gunners.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, and you've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.
Sing along if you know it. As I walk these streets alone, through this borough I call home, upon the barren fields of ivory, beneath the stadiums of stone, through the turnstiles of the Angel, see the homeless on the green, from the Cali to the cross, and every shithole in between. Past the church, the mosque cracked then, and the offie on the corner, see the brasses from the brothel that pretends to be a stormer. Watch the bedlam in the bookies, see the winners and the losers seeking solace from their sorrow in the local battle cruisers. Through the madness in the market, where the faces turn to Greek. Hello governor, how's your mother? You're outside me like a geezer. Double pie and mash and liquor, a couple rolls in the up chat, or watch retired gangsters bicker. Every day an office chat. The little fuckers causing trouble, for the causes make you smile. You meet your muckers for a couple, forget your troubles for a while. From the full nil to the hemi, all the faces are the same. 'Cause the manner might be changing, but the people still remain. You ready?
Watching this live, this might be cut out by YouTube later. Enjoy.
We're going to play it right through. If you want to hear it.
I see the architecture changing, watch the history disappear, and the skyline rearranging into towers of veneer. But I see the remnants of a London that they thought they could erase. Every time I hear the old school talk about the good old days, or every time I watch the football and have a roomie with the lads, see an oyster selling clobber or a dealer shotting bags. It's in the single mother's juggling a baby and a job, in every single brother struggling, the wind up in the dock. It's in the roots and the foundations still clinging to the land. It's in the bricks that build the moorland and Popham that still stand. It's in my family and my friends, in every gram and every bend. It's in the roots that we inherit when a generation ends. It's in the ruins of your youth and the faces of your past. 'Cause the manner might be changing, but the people.
Here we go. Enjoy it. We are the Arsenal.
Have a great summer, everybody. Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.